Good afternoon and welcome to H3 TV. I am so glad that you are joining us here live on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever you're joining from. I started H3 TV during the pandemic when I recognized that people were not feeling very hopeful, healthy, or happy. And I thought, what could I do? What could be my part to bring a little hope, health, and happiness into your life, into your office, or into your home? And I decided to create a talk show where I invited people to share how do they stay H3, as I like to call it, in their lives, in their workplace, and in their workplace culture. And so I just appreciate you tuning in every Wednesday, as my time may vary, but I do my very best to get to you every Wednesday with a new guest. Please help me welcome my friend, Kay. Hi, Kay. Thanks for being with us.
Good afternoon, Annie. It's nice to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. So tell my listeners a little bit about who are you? What do you do? Where do you live? What's your story?
Sure. Well, I live in Minneapolis in Eden Prairie. And basically, what I do right now in my life is I book motivational speakers.
Awesome.
I book you.
Yes.
And I love it because I always get great responses from my clients. My husband is also a motivational speaker. We've been doing this for many, many years. Prior to this, I was a nurse many years ago. So kind of worked through all of that and just through a lot of transitions and chaos in life, which we all have. I'm here now doing this, and I really feel like it's a calling.
100%. That's what I was thinking. You do meaningful work. When you were a nurse, you did very meaningful work, but you also book speakers that have powerful and healing messages for audiences. And so I love what you do. So I know that you are an H3 person and you live a hopeful, healthy, and happy life. So what are 3 to 5 of your keys? What are things you do every day to stay hopeful, healthy, and happy?
Well, the first thing I do is when I wake, and I always wake up before my husband. I grab my cup of tea and I sit quiet and meditate. That's one of the things that I do. And then I like to connect with the world because I think it's important. So I reach out and I check out my local news stations, even though some of the news might not be what we want to hear, it's still what we need to hear so that we can help people and, maybe give a different perspective on life. The other thing that I do every day is I try to exercise. I do Pilates. I try to eat great, sometimes not so great, but we try to do that in our home. And the question daily, once my husband gets up, the first question is, well, what's for dinner? So we always have to make a healthy, great dinner, something that we both will love.
Very nice. I love that you drink tea. I'm finding more and more people drink tea. Did you used to be a coffee drinker? Have you always been a tea drinker? Tell us.
No, I used to be a big coffee drinker,
Okay.
straight black, and then I did cream, and then I decided I've had a lot of health issues, so I needed to try to get rid of some of the inflammation in my body. So one of the things that I've done is transition total to tea, and I even got rid of my sweetener in the tea. So
You're braver than I, so
that was hard. That was really hard, but I did that. So
good job. I want to be a tea drinker and I own a lot of tea because I'm always trying, but I tend to be a vanilla cream coffee. Like that's I don't drink coffee every day, but once or twice a week, just sitting with that cup of coffee. So I love, there's something sweet about tea. There's something softer, a gentler way to wake up maybe. So
right.
when we think of H3, hope, health, and happiness, do you think that living that life, Kay, for you has happened by chance, by choice, or based on circumstances?
Well, I think it's happened by choice.
Okay.
I, I really believe that we are all given so many choices in our life. Some health issues have come along the way, and you get to choose how you want to transpire your life, um, and make a difference in your life, in your children's life. Do you want to be around for your children? Do you want to, live a healthier life? Do you want to walk the streets and walk around the lakes and enjoy the lakes? You've got the ocean, Annie, so um, you're lucky. But we have all the lakes here in Minnesota, which you left.
Yes, exactly.
So we do a lot of that, walking around. So all of that is by choice. Um, The one thing I want to say when I talk about choice is my first husband committed suicide. So I had to get through that by choice, 100% by choice. Um, it was his choice to leave that way, but I also believe that there was a higher power involved in all of that too. Um, and then we get to choose. How do we want to move on as a survivor? How do we want to make a better life for our children? How do we want to let our children know that it's not okay to make that choice? And if you ever feel that way, who are you going to tell? What help are you going to get? Because there's always help.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot in life. And yeah, if I could dial it back and make that change and change it, yeah. But it's all by choice.
Yeah. I think it's so many choices. And like you said, Kay, I love it's not a one-time choice. I think that's such an important thing to remind people too. Like, well, I chose to be healthy. And then the next day I wasn't healthy anymore because for me, I was talking to a client yesterday and I was saying, I am on a journey to be the exception. I am every day making the choice, every day taking an action to live a healthy H3 life, as I like to call it. But I think two things that you reminded us that it is a choice, yes, but it's something you work on, and you and your partner intentionally work on it. And as a gym owner for 12 years, I always said choose health in all categories for yourself. But if you can't, find someone you love enough, and whether that's your spouse or your child, do it for them in the beginning, and hopefully ultimately you get to a place where you're like, I want to be healthy for me and for my own life. So I love that you said that. And Greg loves the movie The Notebook. And he's like, I want us to die together. I don't want one of us to die before the other. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're 6 years older than me. Don't I? You're ripping me. He's like, oh my gosh, you're such a weirdo, which I am a weirdo. But I'm like, I'm going to live to 106. So that means you got to live to 112. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate you sharing about your husband, your first husband. And I'm so sorry for that loss. And I lost my brother to suicide. And I think with that grief can consume you, and that misunderstanding and the pain, and suicide has so many layers to it. But for me, at some point, about 20 years after he passed, I remember deciding I'm not going to be sad anymore. Instead, I'm going to live twice every day. I'm going to take better care of myself and be the person and live the life that I want, because he never did.
Yeah, we don't have to be sad about him anymore, because obviously they were in pain and they're in a better spot.
That's
And,
right.
you know, and look at the opportunities that I've had since then.
Yes.
My goodness, I have a lovely husband. My daughter has grown up. We have a beautiful granddaughter. I get to travel with my husband with his work, you know, with speaking, and I get the joy of putting the right speaker in front of the right crowd and watching the crowd explode.
It means so much, right? It means so much. So what is the difference, Kay, between being hopeful and optimistic?
Hopeful to me is more organic. It's the opportunity that something's going to change. So it's organic to me. Like something is going to happen. It's like when you wake up in the morning and the sun comes up and you're looking at the sun and you think, oh, good, it's going to be a great day.
Yes.
You know, optimism to me is how you look at a situation. So you're going to have some education behind yourself to say, I'm going to change this because of what I know. You know, what have you learned?
Yeah.
You know, things like that.
I like that. And how about happiness and joy? Is there a difference there? Are they the same thing? What's the difference? Okay.
They're not the same thing.
They're not the same. No.
I think we've talked about this the last time we saw each other. I think we talked about this on the patio.
Yeah.
Joy is eternal.
Yes.
You know, happiness is that immediate thing that you're so happy for somebody or something that you've achieved. That's happiness.
Yeah.
But joy is eternal.
Joy is,
you know, you can wake up every day and have joy and still have crappy things happen to you.
That's right.
But you can still look internal and say, no, I have the joy of me, of myself, and what I've accomplished, and all the chaos and the problems, and I've said chaos a couple times because life can be so chaotic, so many problems going on at the same time,
That's
you
right.
know, with your elderly parents, with your children, but it just all works out.
You just keep going, right? You make that intentional, you live very intentionally. You make that choice every day. And I thank you to our listeners right now. If you have questions or comments for Kay or myself, feel free to put them in the chat at any time, and we will do our best to address them. If you don't get to ask them here, you can ask them in the comments after, and we will respond to them as well. Kay, what I wanted to ask about is, I know that you're intentionally positive and happy person, and living this hopeful, healthy life intentionally by choice every day. But I also know that chaos, as you will use, or challenges slip in. So what is something that challenges you in life? And when that happens, what do you do to turn that around?
What is something that challenges me?
Yeah.
This is very, and I'll be very candid with it, family issues
Mm,
of siblings
yeah.
challenge me right now.
Yeah.
At my age, they should not be challenges, but they are, and I think it's because we're so different.
Mm,
So what I've done is I've tried to communicate my true feelings,
yeah.
my truth, and give them my truth. And if they can't accept my truth, then I just need to accept that and move on and know that I've done my best.
That's right. That's right. And I unfortunately can relate. Siblings can be challenging. And I think it's also about setting healthy boundaries, that you
Oh,
decide, you speak your truth, and then you set a limit.
I
And
think we talked about that too previously, a long time ago. And I think you're 100% right. Boundaries are, you don't set boundaries for them, you set them for yourself
that's right.
and say, this is how far I'm going to take it. If you need to go beyond that, then we're done.
Yeah,
But you have to stay within those boundaries.
that's right.
And
Stick
that's the hard part.
for sure. So when you're thinking about life right now, what are you hopeful about personally with you and Bruce, with your personal home, your life, and what are you hopeful about professionally with your career?
Professionally, I hope I continue to work until I can't do it anymore
Oh,
because I love people. And every time we go to an event and I see the speaker speak, it's so inspiring to me to know that there's so much to learn out there. I love being around smart people. I love being around hopeful people and positive people, and we get to choose that.
that's right.
Personally, I cannot wait to share Italy with Bruce.
Oh,
I
when are
know,
you going?
a year from now.
Okay,
We've
nice.
got it on the books. We've got the time set aside. So we're going to go to Italy. So we're super excited about that.
That's awesome.
And the other thing that we are so thrilled about is I told you about our granddaughter, which Julie has adopted,
Yeah.
and thrilled about it. She's making leaps and strides, and we love her to death. And
Mm,
it's really fun to watch her grow.
that's awesome. That's fantastic. The best, right?
Yeah, it is. And I'm not saying that there isn't problems.
Of course.
There's weekly problems, daily problems,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that Julie calls me up with and says, help. but we work through it,
Yeah.
day by day.
And how lucky is she to have a mom she can call and say, help, or how do you do this, or where are we going, or keep me
Right,
going, or whatever it is.
right.
Right.
Especially when you have adoption issues, because
Yeah.
there's background stuff. There's a little bit of baggage, not a little bit of baggage, but there's a whole bunch of baggage.
Right.
Um,
There's
and
challenges.
and,
Yeah.
and we have to talk very openly to her about that,
Yeah,
that
of course.
that's from your past and now you have a new life, but you
Yeah.
have to recognize the past too.
Yeah. Adoption is such a beautiful thing, but it can have a lot of layers and challenges inside of it. But the intent of it is always created to be beautiful. So,
Yeah.
Kate, when we think about the word health, a lot of people think of physical, but I think of health as being 7 things. I think it's physical, emotional, financial, mental, career, relationships, and spiritual. And so when you think of health, or when you are working with somebody around health, what area do you like to focus on?
things that you can change.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you get a diagnosis of something, you can't necessarily change the diagnosis, but you can change your reaction to the diagnosis.
That's right.
You know, whether it means making better relationships, whether it means eating better
Yeah.
intentionally, whether it means getting out and walking more,
Yeah.
engaging in your work, which gives you joy. You
Yeah.
know, focus on the things that give you internal joy versus focusing on the negative. I have a girlfriend that is always on the negative side, if you know what I'm saying.
Some challenges. I feel like you were talking about the serenity prayer, even though you're talking about health, is you're really saying
Oh, yeah,
evaluate health,
right.
evaluate this. And you're like, okay, can you change something? Do it. We can't change everything. We can't always control diagnosis or situations of relationships around us, but we can control some things. And you're saying control the things you can. And I think it always just, I love the serenity prayer.
And you know, it even goes back. I mean, you know me, I'm in Bible study and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll share this. You can't hide from God. And even amongst the chaos, God is so much more powerful than any of that.
Yeah.
And I think that we can channel that
Yeah.
into our daily living. Whatever religion you are, you can channel your spirituality into it.
Yeah. And that practice, like even you saying, I get up first, I get my cup of tea and I meditate. Like for me, I'm like, you are creating the groundwork, the framework to have a better chance of having a great day. And I always am encouraging people, which I know I drive them crazy, but I'm like, get up 15 minutes earlier. No, I do love mornings. I know, but the value in that extra 15 minutes of grounding, of quiet, of tea, of journal, whatever it is, before you jump out of bed and deal with work and spouse and kids and laundry or whatever life brings, it's so valuable, so almost priceless to me that if people would be willing to just give themselves a couple of extra minutes in the morning.
I
So,
agree with you.
do you have a story about somebody that you helped with a part of their health and how good it made you feel to serve them, whether it was financial health or relationships or physical health?
Ooh, that's a good question. Just recently, it's nothing big, but my girlfriend, actually, we were at church a week ago, and it was Rally Sunday, so it was outside in the tent, you know,
Oh,
Minnesota
fun.
Rally
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah.
And so we had a Rally Sunday, and we heard the sirens go by, and it turned down my old block where I used to live. And I leaned over to Bruce and I said, "Oh, bless whoever needs that
Oh,
help."
yeah.
So I get home and our friend texts us and says, "Pete died."
Oh, no.
Well, that was where they were going, to Pete's
Mm,
house. Pete never woke up.
mm.
So our friends who we used to live next door to for years passed away. But I said to Leslie, we cooked. That's kind of what I do. I cook. I cook and cook and cook and cook and package all the foods, and we brought it over there.
Oh,
And because she had family come in, her sister flew in right away, and I just said to her, "I'm here for you, whatever you need,
mm,
whether it's just sitting quiet, not talking or whatever." But I said, "You will find profound freedom and
mm,
profound loneliness all at the same time."
mm.
And you know, we just kept checking in all week, and I'll keep checking in with her, and we'll spend some time with her, and you know,
Mm.
just little things like that, you know, and
Those
that's
are
what
big
life
things.
is. It's
Those are big things, Kay. I can't say little things about that because showing up and being there for people in our busy world where we're all like, I'll get to you later is huge. Cooking for someone is so nurturing. It's such a gift to bring food. Food is an act of love, compassion, caring, generosity. And I think that you performed an act of just love, unconditional love for another life when they are going through the hardest things and the freedom and the sadness. and the confusing journey that grief is and is never the same, that we all have our own process, how we grieve and why we grieve. And so I love that. I really love that you shared that with us. It's really important. Beautiful story. Thank you for sharing. So I wonder, is there anything, Kay, over your years, and especially you said yourself you had some health concerns, is there any myth about health that you would like to help us clarify today? You know, sometimes it's don't eat this, or you have to do this, or you can't do that. And people get so overwhelmed they don't do anything. It almost makes them stuck. But do you have any myths about health you would like to educate or encourage our speakers on, our listeners on?
Yeah, I've been to Mayo Clinic. I've been to all the clinics in the Twin Cities. If you don't get what you need, seek higher. Always, and it might be the same diagnosis, but it wasn't for me. So they were able to find, and when you go to Mayo Clinic, they have a team of people that work on you. It's not just one doctor. So they all collaborate together, and they get together and they come up with this idea and treatment. The one doctor there, now that I look back, it's been a long time. The one doctor there was so amazing, and he literally just saved my life.
Oh my gosh.
You know, just with treatment, it's something that no other Twin Cities doctor would have ventured to do.
Wow.
With medication and that type of thing. And I was willing to do it.
Yeah.
So it depends on your, you know, some people just go to the doctor and accept it.
So I think you're saying be an advocate for yourself, get a second opinion, and never just trust, especially when it's only one person checking and then diagnosing it. I think, and doctors are overwhelmed as well, but get that second diagnosis. Make sure that it's like, wait a minute, does this make sense for me or not? And so I think that's good advice.
If I've known people that can take their slides, because being in the medical profession, you can take your slides so that you don't have to repeat a lot of the stuff or your MRIs or whatever, and they can just look at them, you know, and give you another second opinion, or they can say, well, I would suggest a different type of scan. And so if you're willing to do that, you know, that's what I'm saying. Be an advocate for yourself joyfully.
Joyful advocate. That's right. I like not crabby advocate. Joyful.
No,
advocate.
because you don't get anywhere being that way.
Yeah.
No, you don't get anywhere. I remember just going to the doctor and saying, please help me. You know,
we get to that point. So when you think of H3 being hopeful, healthy, and happy, is there anything else that you feel like, you know what, here's one of my keys over the years, especially with tragically losing your first husband? You know, some people would say, I couldn't go through that, or Kay's stronger than me, which I always think, don't say that. We hope we never go through the hard stuff, but we're all going to go through some hard stuff. So having tools in our toolbox ready to go when the hard stuff comes is ideal. Get together a plan, a ritual, a routine, a support system before you need them, so that when the time does come, because it comes to all of us, we already have that in place. Is there anything that you think of specifically that you do or you do as a couple to really create that environment and live that out?
You love yourself, and you get up every day and you put one foot in front of the other, and you just keep going. Even if, you know, you don't want to show up, you know, for something, you just keep going.
Yes. One foot in front of the other and keep on going.
I know it's old fashioned. I know it's simple, but
it's the truth.
It is the truth. Because when you're hit with things that are gut wrenching, and you question your value system, you question your life, that's what's going to keep you going.
Yeah.
And read everything.
What are you reading right now? What's your favorite book right now?
Lewis. It's the divorce book, and it's not about divorce. It's spiritual stuff.
That's the name of it, is the divorce book?
I can't remember. Divorce is in the first book. It's the C.S. Lewis book. It's very popular. If you just Google it, it
okay,
comes
a new C.S. Lewis book.
It's not new. It's old.
It's old, an old C.S. Lewis book.
Lewis is
Kay's
old.
just reading. She's reading whatever she can find. Awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Kay, if people want to hear more from you, get to know you, maybe
Yeah.
even work with you, maybe they're another amazing speaker out there and they were like, I want to be part of Kay's mission, message, motivation. That's what I think. You're the 3 M's, your mission, your message, and your motivation, because you love to work with people that have a deep message so that they can deeply and profoundly affect the audiences they get to speak to. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Just email me. Go to my website at cruisedevelopment.com and just email me. And
Okay.
it's Cruise, Kruse.
All right, cruisedevelopment.com, and just email you. And Kay, we're going to have you add that in the comments so people can just click the link and see your website and connect with you when they want to. Thank you so much for being here with me. I really appreciate it. Do you have any last minute thoughts or anything else you want to say before we say farewell to our listeners?
Just joy.
Joy. Keep living in joy. Keep reading. Follow Kay's lead. Whatever we go through, and we'll all go through chaos or things in our life, we can choose to be joyful. We can choose to be generous, and we can choose to look for the good and be part of it, and be the compassion too. I think Kay shared just being there for her neighbor who just lost her husband. What a beautiful thing. Go out there and be compassionate to someone. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being with us, Kay. And I wish you all an H3 week ahead where you are hopeful, healthy, and happy. Thanks again for tuning in.